On a Saturday drive outside of Ithaca, passing by Trumansburg, New York, we stumble upon the Honeybee Embassy. Situated on this idyllic landscape, surrounded by meadows and the humming of bees, is a one-of-a-kind farm stand, selling nature's sweetest and most delicious product. Entering the Honeybee Embassy feels more akin to stepping into a temple than a farm stand. Upon entrance, one is greeted by the gentle diffraction of light, bouncing on the golden wood interior. Repeating patterns of hexagons mimic the feeling of being inside a honeycomb. Brent Welch, co-owner of Bright Raven Farm and Apiary, describes his inspiration for building the embassy and his path into beekeeping.
My name is Brent Welch, and I'm a co-owner of the Honeybee Embassy and Bright Raven Farm, and we are located on Swamp College Road in Jacksonville, New York, right next to Trumansburg, New York. We're about 10 minutes outside of Ithaca. A friend of ours is a local architect, and I told him I wanted to have kind of a pavilion-style building, and he came up with most of the design of this building. And you know, it's always hard to tell on paper how it's going to work out, but we wanted something that was really airy and just totally unique that would showcase the honey well, and I think he did a pretty good job.
And I agree. Looking at their jars of honey laid out on top of hives inside of this wonderful structure just sets a new standard for buying local. For Brent and his wife and co-owner Teresa, beekeeping runs in the family.
We got into beekeeping first through my wife. Her dad is from Europe and was a beekeeper there. His mom was actually a beekeeper in what was Czechoslovakia, and they fled the occupation there and were able to immigrate to Switzerland because that was a skill that his mom had as a beekeeper. They let her move to that country. So it's a long story, but he ended up coming to the United States, and when we bought this land, he wanted to have a few beehives here. So we said, "Sure, Grandpa, you can, have your little hobby hives and do your thing." Of course, he needed help from time to time, and we started helping him and got more interested. Started bringing some honey to the farmers market, and people were like, "Holy cow, this is really, really good." So over the years, we've been getting different varietals of honey. I actually studied ethnobotany, and I'm more into plants than I am into insects. I kind of look at bees as sort of my avenue into plants. So we're quite in tune with what's blooming, and then we can tell based on the season and what's blooming what the different varietals of honey, what they are. At least have a pretty good educated guess on what the varietals are. Basswood honey, when it blooms, it's right around the 4th of July, and it produces a huge crop of honey if the weather's right. It has a very distinct color and taste. So with experience and that, you can taste the differences. Actually, in Italy, they have basically like a wine sommelier. They have honey, like a sommelier for honey, and they're highly trained to taste just like a sommelier does. The terroir, the region, they can tell just from taste where different honeys are coming from all over Italy. So it's that kind of thing.
At the embassy, visitors can sample a wide range of different honey, and like fine wines, there's nuance to each variety. But for Brent and Bright Raven Farms, offering such unique products to the public has not been without its challenges.
I used to do a lot of vegetables. My wife and I were vegetable growers and fruit growers and beekeepers, and then in about 2016 a major drought came and drove me nuts, and I decided that was sort of the final straw. I wanted to get out of the vegetable production. It was just kind of too stressful, but we were still producing honey, and people kept commenting on how good the honey was, so that was a product that we thought we should focus on.
While the transition from vegetable grower to full-time beekeeper has reduced the stress of working on the land, there's still much hard work to be done.
It can be 85 degrees out, and you've got a bee suit on in the full sun, and you're focusing really hard to see tiny little like the egg of a bee to try to see it in that light, and you're sweating, and sometimes you're getting stung. So it's meditative, but it's also, quite tiring work to do. So, it's physical, it's a lot of lifting. But I guess in a weird way, that's what draws me to it. I'm the kind of person I like, not extremes, but I like to be outside as much as I can. I like all kinds of weather. I like pushing myself a little.
If you're not convinced by the color and the flavor of this honey, take it from Brent. This stuff's medicinal.
We have quite a few people taking it for allergies and say that it helps them. They give it for themselves or their kids. Various things. Japanese knotweed honey that we produce is just from personal experience. It's super medicinal. Any kind of colds, sore throats and stuff like that, it usually knocks it back. The propolis that's in the honey is very antiviral and antimicrobial. And Japanese knotweed has something called, the plant has resveratrol in it, which is a very medicinal compound, and Japanese knotweed has the highest level of resveratrol of any plant they've ever studied. So I don't know if it's in the honey, but I'm suspecting that it might be. We have our candles, we have some honey soaps that local people make, and lip balm, comb honey, and honey sweetened chocolates that we make, and tea. So it's not tea that we grow, but it's organic tea that we source that pairs well with the honey.
A stop at the Honeybee Embassy isn't complete without marveling at one of these amazing honeycombs. One can't help but wonder what goes through the minds of these little insects, creating these intricate and complex structures.
Bees are fascinating and super dynamic, and the more you talk to really experienced people, nobody really knows exactly what's going on. It's definitely an art and a science. They just have a different organized brain, and they're tuned into a different frequency, and they're able to do incredible stuff that we are just barely have an idea about.
For Brent, beekeeping is more than just a profession. It's had a profound impact on his life, changing the way he views science and how he interacts with nature.
With the bees, it's really just trying to stay out of the way as much as possible. Just trying to get the feeling like, okay, they're low on this resource, or their population is dwindling in this area, so we need to boost that. But really just trying to look at it as a whole and keep it as balanced and as vibrant as possible. And just, I can't accept just the reduction, and I think it's actually quite harmful. I think some of our depression and separation and stuff is just this sort of, we're just this bag of water and chemicals, and it's all, random chance and everything. And I think that's kind of a dangerous point of view, and I think that's also why our culture is kind of just, we're in such denial about the natural world and stuff, because we treat things as if they're just inert, resources, and they're certainly not.
Brent's respect for the bees and the environment is clearly seen in the honeys he produces. And in addition to the embassy, they can be found weekly at the Ithaca Farmers Market. Finally, Brent offers his advice on how anyone can help protect our natural world.
Plant lots of stuff for the pollinators, get rid of some of your lawn, and just let stuff be free and grow, and give some space for the birds and the bees. Agua como resaca, no esperanza de un nuevo día.